Blessed love and blessings up. I really feel like Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, and Chris Eubank Jr., they need each other, and they really need to stop mixing it up ASAP, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's talk about it.
Welcome to Real Life Boxing.
Blessed love and blessed day, oh boxing world, boxing nation, fighting world, fighting nation. It's Coach Fighting. This is Real Life Boxing. As I said, I really feel like Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, and Chris Eubank Jr., they need each other right now, and they really should stop beefing with each other. Hey, before we get into it, I'm going to ask you guys to smash on the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you can be notified when new content is being uploaded, and you can be notified when we are going live here at Real Life Boxing. Let's get into it. Jermall Charlo and Chris Eubank fought this weekend on the same card. Jermall Charlo, impressive 7th round knockout over Dennis Hogan. You know, a lot of haters going to say Hogan was a bum, Hogan was this, Hogan was that. But Hogan was a pretty good, very crafty, unorthodox, weird fighter. And Jermall Charlo was able to get the KO in the 7th round, set it up beautifully. Was a beautiful KO, single left hook. Chris Eubank fought Matt Korobov on the same card. His fight ended up being stopped in the 2nd round because Matt Korobov threw out his shoulder, overextended trying to throw the left hand, threw out his shoulder, and it was a wrap. You know what I'm saying? It was a wrap. Chris Eubank took the WBA, what is it, the interim WBA middleweight champion, and you know, that was it. Wasn't really happy about it, but you know, it is what it is. And Demetrius Andrade, he's been inactive. His last fight was against Sulecki, in which he defeated Sulecki in a unanimous decision. And he's been calling out Canelo Alvarez, calling out Triple G ever since. Demetrius Andrade, he went over to the zone, chasing Canelo Alvarez and chasing Triple G, who are both signed to the zone, hoping to get a fight with one of them. And both of those guys, being Canelo Alvarez and Triple G, are still showing no interest in fighting Demetrius Andrade whatsoever. Jermall Charlo, same thing as Jermall Charlo. He's been interim. He's now the world champion. He's been Canelo Alvarez mandatory. He's been Triple G's mandatory. Since 154 pounds, been chasing both Canelo Alvarez and Triple G. And again, both of these guys are showing no interest in fighting Jermall Charlo. Chris Eubank Jr., he's been doing his thing over in the UK. You know, fought a couple fights. He lost to, who did he lose to? Billy Joe Saunders. And he ended up beating James DeGale, I believe. Was that over in the UK, or was that his United States debut? I can't really remember, but you know, he's been trying to get himself together. He's hired some trainers and has been working over at the Mayweather camp, but he still goes back and forth. You know, he's back and forth. When he's in England, he has no trainer. When he's in the United States, he's working with the Mayweather camp, and he's signed to PBC. And unlike a lot of fighters today, he wants to fight the best fights, he says. You know what I'm saying? He's calling for the biggest fights. He's calling for the toughest fights, and he's a pretty good fighter. You know, whether he always comes up to fight, but you know, he tends to lack focus. He tends to lack discipline. But when focused and when disciplined, he is a very good fighter. So maybe Canelo or Triple G would be more willing to fight Chris Eubank than they are willing to fight Jermall Charlo and Demetrius Andrade. But nevertheless, I think that these three, they need each other right now. You know what I'm saying? And they should just go on and fight each other. With Triple G not wanting to fight, with Canelo Alvarez not wanting to fight, I think these three could have a nice little round robin with each other and make some good fights out of it, and then possibly get some bigger fights, you know what I mean, after that. But they all need bigger names on their resume, and they all would be good for each other's resume. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying who would win or lose a fight between any of them. This isn't that type of video. This is just saying these guys need to fight each other, being that the rest of the guys don't want to fight them. You know what I mean? Demetrius Andrade, WBO, Charlo, WBC. A fight between them would be huge. It's a unification, and it will probably be a pretty good fight. I mean, both of these dudes are talented. Demetrius Andrade is more of a boxer on the back foot, and Jermall Charlo is more of a boxer puncher on the front foot. You know what I'm saying? So you know, I think that it'll be a good fight. They're both talented, both highly athletic and those type of things. I think it'll be a good fight. Likewise, Chris Eubank with either one of them, with either Jermall Charlo or Demetrius Andrade. Chris Eubank is an aggressive fighter, you know what I mean? So I think a fight with either him or either Chris Eubank and Jermall Charlo or Chris Eubank and Demetrius Andrade would be a good fight. You know what I'm saying? I think against Demetrius Andrade, Chris Eubank would definitely push the pace and make Demetrius Andrade work, you know what I'm saying, more than he's used to having to work against a fighter who's just as athletic as him, just as quick as him, you know what I mean, and those type of things. Not saying that Chris Eubank is as skilled. I think Demetrius Andrade is a more skilled fighter, but Chris Eubank is very aggressive, and he would definitely push the pace against Demetrius Andrade. So that would be a very good fight. And over in the UK, both of those fights are pretty good money fights. You know what I'm saying? If they're being hosted over in the UK, because Chris Eubank, he's got a pretty good name over there. You know what I'm saying? He's like a celebrity over in the UK. I think he's probably more of a celebrity in the UK than Jermall Charlo and Demetrius Andrade is up here in the States. You know what I'm saying? You know, the UK loves their fighters, and even though Chris Eubank, you know, gets a lot of hate, they're gonna love him over the US fighters. You know what I'm saying? So both of those fights for Chris Eubank could be huge fights for all of those guys in the UK, at least pretty good money fights. You know what I'm saying? Those fights could be probably pay-per-view fights over in the UK. I don't think they could be pay-per-view fights up here, not right now, but I think those fights for Chris Eubank could be pay-per-view fights in the UK if he was to fight a Jermall Charlo or a Demetrius Andrade. You know what I mean? And he's an interim title holder, so he can't unify, but you know what I mean? Still, I think they'll still all be good fights. You know what I mean? And being that Canelo Alvarez is not looking these guys' way, being that Triple G is not looking these guys' way, and honestly, that's kind of unfortunate. But I mean, that's out of everyone's control, at least our control and those three fighters' control. Andrade, Chris Eubanks, and Charlo. You know what I mean? So they should just really start looking into fighting each other. I know that Eddie Hearn is willing to have Demetrius Andrade fight either one of those guys. You know what I mean? At least he says, and Demetrius Andrade says that he's willing. You know what I mean? The big thing is if PBC would be willing to, you know, that's the thing. They'll have to figure out if the fight is going to be on the zone, if the fight is going to be on the networks, and that seems to be the biggest problem in all of boxing today. You know what I'm saying? With us getting the fights that we really want to see. The good thing about Charlo and Chris Eubank Jr. is that they are both signed to PBC. I believe, right? Chris Eubank Jr. is a PBC fighter. He fought on Fox this weekend. So they are both with the PBC. So that fight looks like a fight that could actually be made. You know what I'm saying? So that would be really good. Talks about Jermall Charlo possibly fighting Benavidez, you know, up at super middleweight. I don't really like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think it would be sad that Jermall Charlo has to leave 160 pounds. He's already moved up from 154 pounds and you know, to 160 to be a unified champ at 160 and possibly undispute the division. He hasn't even gotten a chance to be a unified champ. He didn't even get a chance to fight for the WBC world champion. It was given to him when Canelo Alvarez took the status of franchise champion. You know what I mean? So I think that it would be really sad and unfortunate if Jermall Charlo has to go up to 168 pounds to fight David Benavidez when there's so many fights in the middleweight division that can be made for him that's just not being made. That's really unfortunate, and that would be really sad. You know what I mean? If Charlo has to move up in weight class and never even got to fight for a world title at 160, because like I said, he's the WBC world champion, but he never got to fight for it. It was just passed down to him. You know what I'm saying? So that would be real unfortunate and real sad if Jermall Charlo has to move up to 168 pounds. Honestly, I won't like that. I would rather see him fight Demetrius Andrade at 160. I would rather see him fight Chris Eubank at 160. Even though Eubank isn't a title holder, I think that would be a good name for Jermall Charlo to have on his resume if he's able to beat Eubank. You know what I'm saying? And possibly would be able to get Jermall Charlo, you know, some bigger fights, some money fights, because the big question and the problem always is, who has he fought? You know what I'm saying, in quotation marks. But you know, that's my opinion on these three guys, man. I think that these three guys really need to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? At this point, Jermall Charlo needs to start begging PBC, or I don't want to say leave PBC, but maybe, you know what I'm saying, take a couple fights over on his own. I don't know if PBC is willing to have him do that, but they're running out of, you know what I'm saying, things, you know what I'm saying, for Jermall Charlo. And I think it would be really unfortunate if they're not able to get Jermall Charlo these fights. He's been through, he's been putting in his work, you know what I'm saying. This dude's already, he's went through the come-up fights of Austin Trout, and he knocked out J-Rock, you know what I'm saying, in those type of fights. So, and this was all the way at 154, you know what I'm saying. So he's had to do the same thing at 160. He shouldn't be fighting fighters like Dennis Hogan's and you know, Brandon Adams anymore, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Bigger names for 2020 on the resume for all of these fighters. You guys tell me what y'all think about it in the comments section. Until then, keep fighting your fight and protect yourself at all times. Peace and one love. So if you like this video and you would like to see more great content like this on the channel, go to the PayPal link or the Cash App link in the description and show your appreciation by donating any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. This is Real Life Boxing.